welcome yet another very special gentleman onto the stage. Be breach ready, prevent a breach from becoming a crisis. That's what he's going to be talking to us about. So can we put our hands together and welcome the Vice President of ColorTokens Inc., Mr. Shakeel Khan, on stage. A big round of applause for him as he takes up the stage.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Fantastic. Can I get my deck here? As this comes up, as time was crossing, I was not very sure what kind of energy level all of you have because I was low in energy. But to see that kind of energy all of you have, it is like fantastic. So I'm sure this is pretty familiar with all of you. Before we get in there, my name is Shakeel. I'm with ColorToken for last 4 years. I have been doing different role and the current role helping organization to be kind of a breach ready. But before I get in there, I'm sure I've been interacting with a lot of users in the morning and I hardly find anyone who has not gone through the crisis which could have been prevented. And this is where we kind of talking about helping organization, how can they be a completely breach ready. Now what does it mean? It doesn't mean that you don't have to go and kind of invest on preventing a breaches to happen, but what we are saying that you have been doing a lot of stuff to ensure that your organization is not impacted, right? If you look at the first part of it, this is all public domain, so there's nothing confidential out here. But if I can take attention towards the snowflake, what happened recently, now I'm sure all of you would have read about it. More than 30 million bank accounts were kind of exfiltrated, and it had more than 28 million credit card which was taken out. Yeah, somebody's waving the hand. Great. So now if you look onto it, this is happening irrespective or in spite of kind of investment which has been made. Now every organization has been making more and more investment every year, but if you look onto the side of it, what you had the number of cyber breaches incidents were also increasing a lot more. So if you just get a little bit more insight onto it, the cost of data breach, all of us understand about it, which is actually much more than this. Now, if you really have gone through the breach or you have spoken to your peers who has gone through breach, the amount of money which has been spent in the form of the loss of a business or recovering the business and data, it's actually running in 3 digits. But this data is out of the IBM report, which talks about close to 5 million is what you spend for every data breach. But what is most important part here is that can this be prevented? Is this preventable? Because most of the organizations would continue running a lot of application which has a lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of misconfigurations, and which just can't be patched on that. And then a lot of company gets affected and goes out of business because of those impact what happens to it. Other data point what need to be looked onto it is that the time to react from the time you have the initial attack, the patient 0, and then moving to the patient 1, the timeout or the breakout time for doing a movement impacting one application to other is been kind of reducing every year. It means you need to have a lot of mechanism which can help you to kind of increase this breakout time so you would able to kind of put up a mechanism to contain or to recover it. Now, how do we do that? In the current world or current scenario where you have the vulnerabilities not been patched for more than 182 days, you have a lot of misconfigurations, you have a lot of human errors onto it, unpatched applications, there's so much around that. Now, if you look at, kind of this century, which is be running on 3rd decade of it, the initial decade, which was 2000, which was more about you have a lot of users, applications, everything which was on-premise, a lot more better because if you allow some connections or access to happen, you're going to build up a castle mode environment and have the limited access going out to the world. Obviously, the number of breaches or the impact what you had were not that impactful overall. As we move towards the next decade, what you found that users started moving out of your organizations, applications start moving it out, the connectivity increased. What was the prime criteria on the 2000 which was preventing an attack? that continued increasing it. So the world, the change, what happened, the shift, what happened, as much as you want to prevent something because it was not completely preventable, organizations went towards the detection and response. So idea was to get onto prevention, detection, response, and then if anyone is into betting, can go and bet. The attacks are continue going to increase, is not going down. It means that the strategy, what you're doing about prevention, detection, response, is not really being effective to reduce the impact what you have. And if I just go in one step inside what I mean by that, what is causing this issue, now if you look at it from the attacker's point of view, we can focus on the point one, where a lot of recon happens, and then the third party or anybody outside would start collecting a lot of information about your organization, finding it out, what is available, a lot of data which goes out. You have bunch of information which anybody can build onto it to see how do they get inside your organization. The point is that can you do anything here? This is out of your enterprise, out of your control. You can't do anything about it. Then if you get to the fourth phase, where already damage has been done, your data has been exfiltrated, it's been encrypted, and you're already getting a ransom note about it, you are into the forensic, you are into finding it out, where does the whole thing happen, and that by that time damage has already been done. Where organization is playing and spending a lot of time is on the second phase, trying to prevent a breach, trying to prevent an attack. And if you look at the security industry as such, I did work on a lot of preventive security organization. They all has been focusing here, trying to prevent a breach. And as I said, this decade is not about trying to prevent a breach, because if you can go and bet around it, the breaches would continue happening and you would continue getting impact. Now, if you look at the third phase, that's where once the attacker is inside your organization, and I'll talk about how do they get inside, but then a incident or a small breach converts into a crisis once you allow the lateral movement to happen within your organization. Right? Now, if you go and study any of the attacks, what has happened, which could have been very well contained, very well minimized, that got amplified because you had a lot of lateral movement around that. Now, if you just go a little bit more inside and look onto how does that happens, now there are many ways an attacker can find a way inside. I'm sure there was a panel discussion around third-party ransomware, and then if you look onto number of third-party who connects to any enterprise organization, there are more than 130, 140. It means you have 130, 140 attack vectors to handle there. Many ways about it. You have vulnerabilities, misconfiguration, phishing attack, users getting onto the unwanted website. Now, if I pick up one example about an application vulnerability, and let's say that vulnerability has been compromised, and attacker gets inside. When the attacker is inside, the next thing what attacker does is that what has been done by unknown person outside the organization about recon to collect the public information, but now the attacker has a lot of your private information. Attacker exactly has idea about what applications you are running, have exactly idea about the misconfiguration, exactly knows which has not been patched and where is the vulnerability exists. Next thing what happens is that hopping, jumping across those misconfigured, unpatched applications and resource, and eventually going and doing something called the lateral movement. I think today everyone knows about it. The lateral movement, what happens around that, and that's where it gets onto it, where you find a lot of this thing is done for money. So you have ransomware and you have disruption happening around that. Now, point here is that what is that anyone can do to control this, to stop converting your breaches into a crisis, right? So, if only you are able to go and control the lateral movement, what happens within your environment, within your enterprise, and this could happen. I've been talking to so many people out since morning here. So many examples comes out where you have in a single organization multiple entities, none of your fault, you are perfectly fine, but your sister organization or your subsidiary or other company of yours, which is sharing your same infrastructure, that gets compromised, and then the lateral movement happens back to your other part of an organization which is supposed to be very secure, but only thing which was left out is that there was no control between an organization, or kind of a loose control what exists between the pre-prod and then a UAT and the production environment, many of it. So if you really look at most of the attacks and breaches, including Snowflake, what I gave an example to you, if you read about it, what happened was one single machine was compromised which did not have an MFA. That machine was part of the corporate network that was connected back to the customer environment, and then attacker did a lateral movement, got onto it, exfiltrated 30 million bank accounts and 28 million credit card. That's the biggest breach as we talk as of today. So the elephant in the room, what we're talking about, the lateral movement, how do you go and take care of that? How do you go and stop that? That's where technology called microsegmentation comes in a play. Now, what does microsegmentation do? Now, if you look at your work environment, which could be within your organization, which could be subsidiaries or third party who connecting onto it, the first thing what you do it from the microsegmentation point of view is that you start building a software-defined perimeter around what you want to be isolated or protected from something else. Right? There is no change of any sort of infrastructure. What happens? There is absolutely agnostic to what you have. You start building the perimeter around environment, applications, or anything. Now, when you do that, the outcome of is that you are reducing the attack surface and something called the blast radius, which is the biggest problem out here. Now, once you have done that, second thing what you start doing is that you start letting only valid communication what can happen within your environment. Now, when you allow only valid communication, as I said, attacker has the map of everything what is kind of open, the data path, network path, misconfiguration. Now, if you only let those valid allowed business communication to happen, what you're doing is that you're taking out the visibility from attacker which is inside your environment. Now, okay. Zero trust principle is all about things to make it go dark, right? Just for attackers so they cannot see anything. And it's also for you to bring a lot of visibility on that, where you would able to control that. You can do breach containment, and you build resiliency because you're able to recover things a lot more faster. I'll just take a couple of more minutes and jump onto the solution side of it. Now, this I spoke about it. As you start building the micro-segmentation at different level, what you're doing is that you're making things to go very hard for someone to succeed. A smaller environment separation will make things to go more difficult for someone to succeed. Then you go at the application layer, you go to the asset layer, is that you're making things to be more difficult for someone to be successful. More effort has to be done, more path has to be changed, and that's where if you have integration with your SIM, things would be a lot more easier for you to detect something which can get onto the crisis side of it. Quickly on microsegmentation from ColorTokens point of view, 3 stages of microsegmentation what we are into. First one is known by everyone, network segmentation being done from the edges, VLANs, firewalls and things like that. And then what a lot of organizations are doing a software-based segmentation, which is all about tagging and putting away policies, configuration. Problem is that it takes a lot of time around that, and you don't really have the kind of an isolation stuff or kind of business continuity part of it. And third is about having a segmentation solution with a breach readiness into your mind, where you are not only able to contain, minimize, but it helps you from the business continuity point of view. That's what is done by ColorTokens. Very quickly onto it, I'm still out, we can talk about more about it, but quickly jump onto it. Now, if you look onto this, what you would exactly get here is that it gives you an exposure from the perspective of what kind of a breach readiness you have as you start the journey with microsegmentation. And as you move across, you move forward, you move upward, you would able to bring it to the level which is manageable, which can help you to ensure your business continue to happen and things gets a lot more difficult for someone to succeed. You would able to measure and quantify every aspect of the microsegmentation journey, what you're going to do it with the platform. So that's the exact outcome measurable stuff, what you can get onto it. Quickly about the platform, 3 steps to it. You get onto the first step about you visualize everything, what kind of configurations, what kind of a communication. You exactly know what's going around it, start putting a policy. When something goes wrong, you're able to contain it, and then you put up a different policies. You could do this across infrastructure. Now, if you have a breach-ready segmentation platform, it cannot be one part of your IT infrastructure. Anything what communicates, which got an IP, you should able to build up a breach containment strategy there, breach readiness strategy there, and a micro-segmentation strategy there. So you could do on your data centers, on your OT devices, on your ICS environment, your endpoints, your servers, your VMs, and all those kind of a thing. All those kind of environment and things what you have, you could do across everything. The last slide before I go off from here. This is the effort what we have been doing for last couple of years, and we have been kind of redefining the way micro-segmentation should be looked onto it. Now, if you go back and see the Forrester slide, 2 years before, 18 months before, you'll find us way below on the graph what you see here. And then being a leader, you got to redefine the way things are worked, you have to think differently, and that's what we have been doing for last 18 months. And what you see that the kind of a leap what we had from where we were 18 months before is a lot of difference out there. And especially called out the kind of a coverage and the breach readiness what we're bringing in. It's officially we are the leaders on the breach ready micro segmentation. Thank you so much. I would have gone more, but then limited time is what Namritan gave me. Thank you, Namritan, letting me to come and talk here. I'm out there, team is out there. Do let us know for any information. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. I'm going to request you to just kindly hold back just a little longer. May I request Mr. Navneethan to kindly step onto the dais and present this wonderful gentleman with a small token of our appreciation.
Difficult to talk in 8 minutes. Oh, sorry, this mic is still on.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presence.